Hello everyone and welcome to Holistic Healing with Deepshikha. I want to start today's episode by thanking the person who has asked me to speak on this topic. Thank you for sharing this vulnerable aspect with me and also for pushing me to speak on a topic that will need me to look deeper within myself and face this vulnerability within me. Hopelessness. Every time I hear this word, I get a feeling of real heaviness. It is a word with such complex feelings behind it, and also something that all of us have gone through at one point of time in our lives. Of course, the severity and complexity of it changes as we grow up. From feeling hopeless during the maths exam to when you suddenly realize that your crush in school is moving away. Slowly, the events that lead to this feeling become more serious and a lot more grave. Also, this emotion comes in so strong because it never travels alone. It likes to bring along with it sadness, a sort of emptiness. It slowly starts to create a hole and eats us up on the inside to the point when it becomes all consuming, and all we can think of is this feeling of hopelessness. And no matter how many words we use to describe it, this sense of hopelessness, this feeling, can never be expressed. The way it cuts through our entire being. A lot of the times when we are going through something like this, in addition to it being so difficult to explain to anyone who wants to lend a helping hand, it is also very difficult for the other person to comprehend. And unfortunately, this only makes us feel lonelier, making us question ourselves on the prudence of having put ourselves in such a situation in the first place. So the question arises, how do you deal with something that brings in so much despair and resembles a black hole? The answer is, you love yourself extra hard during such days. Now I know this may not make any sense. In fact, may even sound a little unreasonable and too simple to be true. I mean, if that's all it takes, why doesn't everyone do it already? Well, it may be simple, but it isn't always easy. So on days when your anxious thoughts are louder than your self-believing ones, remember that not everything you think is true and that there is so much to love about you. And not just your looks, but also the person you are. You sit and remember the times when you've been told how proud you make others. You remind yourself the smiles you spread. I understand that the meaning of hopelessness is that you aren't able to see these things about yourself, and that is why you're feeling the way that you are, and that is what the complicated part is. So now I will share a few things with you that I generally do in such a situation. The first thing that I do is I center myself, meaning I bring myself back to the present time and place. How you can do it is by smelling something that has a very strong smell, like coffee or a perfume. The idea is to bring back the mind from where it has wandered off to. Petting a pet also helps. Once you're centered, try to identify where in your body can you feel the emotion. Is it your chest, your ribs, your back, etc., etc., etc. Once this is done, try to identify the emotion. Give the emotion a name. Is it sadness? Is it loneliness? Or is it ego? What is it? And why are you feeling this emotion? Is it because something bad has happened to you? Or because something good has happened to the other person? Or is it because the other person has been able to move on when you haven't been able to? What all these things that I have mentioned above do is that it puts a pause to your thinking. It makes you put a stop to the spiral of thoughts that your brain has gotten into. When you're able to put a stop on such a spiral, it gives you time to stop and detach from the situation. And think of it not as something that has happened to you, but as something that is still unfolding, still taking place. Making it easier for the brain to be able to see the whole picture and not just what has gone wrong. Apart from this, there are a lot of things that can be done. Things like tuning into music you enjoy, taking a deep, relaxing warm bath, or a cold one that shocks your body into the present moment. Reading something light or watching a show that never fails you, talking to a friend or a confidant. But most importantly, what you need to do is talk to yourself. Not in a half-gone mad manner, but talk to yourself to tell your inner self that hopelessness is a feeling and not a fact. that whatever it is you are going through, you are not alone and you have your own back. Be loving and patient towards yourself. Don't get judgmental or start measuring your progress or lack of it, if that's what you feel. Listen to yourself the same way you would listen to a friend and try repeating the same words or advice that you would give your friend to yourself. In all this, the best part is that hopelessness is a feeling, and like all feelings, if you're patient enough and give it the space that it requires, it too shall pass. There are a lot of quotes on hopelessness and how to deal with hopelessness. And I'm sure that if you are someone who's been through such a situation, then you have probably read many of them. So I'm not going to quote anything today. But as I end this episode, what I am going to say is that remember you are not alone. There is always help available. There are always people who truly care and love you. And on days when it is really difficult, you can borrow my belief in you until you can find yours again. Thank you for listening. I hope this episode was helpful. Take care and remember to give yourself the extra love that you need.